So with the shadow lining complete on our little motif of the convolvulus here, we're now going to begin to infill the trumpet of the flower. Now this is going to be radial stitching, and with radial stitching we're always working towards the core of the motif. In this case, the core is down here at the base of the trumpet. I've worked one side already. I started in the middle and I fanned out this way. I'm now going to work the other side. And I want to keep those stitches as smooth as I possibly can. My fabric is nice and taut within my embroidery hoop. And this inner strata is worked in grey to suggest this deep throat shadow that we're looking at here in the centre of the flower. And we're just at this stage fanning out only quite slightly to create this impression of the tubular petal falling away down the throat of the trumpet towards that growing point. If we do need to advance our stitches round at all, which we might need to, you're going to take a slightly shorter stitch, you're going to slip it underneath its neighbour to advance that angle around a little bit, and then your next stitch will go down to the base. So all the time fanning out smoothly to create that impression of the inner part of the flower disappearing down into the trumpet. One more little stitch and then we're done. So we've now completed the inner stratum, or indeed strata, because we've got another little bit of shadow down here on the trumpet of the flower, on the throat. And we're now going to work the second strata, which is in white, and it's the candy stripe, the pattern on the flower. So again, working from the outside towards the middle, and having worked from the centre, first of all, I worked this one and then the one on that side. We're now working the third of the little candy stripes, feeding this strata down into the first. And here again, if I need to advance the angle, I take a slightly shorter stitch, slip him under his neighbour, so that that angle is advanced, and then take the next stitch down into the previous stratum, in this case the grey. Now you don't need to worry about whether you're stitching through previous stitches or between previous stitches. Don't worry about that, just simply think of stitching one stratum into the next, so that you're gradually building up the overall surface of the flower. The candy stripe might be a little bit irregular in shape like it is on this one, so we just take a longer stitch where we need to, and then on our final stitch again down in towards that shadowy area at the centre. Okay, so at last now we've got to the main colour of our flower, and I'm using a slightly different shade here to the pink of the original pattern. I like to make something different each time, and for this third stratum, which is feeding into the previous two, we're now working from the outside outline of the motif down again in towards the middle in this case first of all working into that candy stripe, a couple of stitches to get us to the other side of it, and then again following the outline all the way down into that centre stratum in the middle. And as you can see, by taking these long smooth stitches, I'm able to really get a beautiful three-dimensional effect on the flower, and the play of light catching that beautiful sheen of the silk just carries on, enhancing the three-dimensional effect. There's another of those shorter stitches to advance my angle around a little bit, and then from the outside down into that stratum there. As you can see, I've done one side already, and this second side will be working all the way round from the outline there down, feeding around and changing direction when it gets down to here to meet up with this angle here. And the way to do that, as I've said at all times, is to take that shorter stitch to swing the angle around. And there we have the finished flower. And you can see the stitches go all the way round, changing direction all the way to give you this lovely three-dimensional effect. And if you want to see what a difference just a couple of tiny seed stitches can make, we'll just pop them in here. This isn't on the original pattern, but it's very easy for you to pop in for yourself. Just a suggestion of those little centres and the little stamens at the middle of the flower coming up, growing up here, popping their little heads out just at the middle of the trumpet there. Just a tiny suggestion of them is all you want, just to enhance that idea that there's something going on down in the middle there. Perhaps we'll just give them one more over on that side. So there's our little candy stripe convolvulus, the flower all finished, and next time we'll have a look at the directional stitching that we'll be using down here on the leaf.